wonder if I could play like pinball sounds. That'd probably be annoying. And then everything is oh, I don't need to play pinball sounds. Welcome to Pinballers. This is our every Monday at 7 p.m. podcast about pinball. The Pinballers are a little bit changed this week because Shannon had something and Austin also has something. We hope they are okay on their somethings. So Brennan is here as always, and we're being joined by the Free Play Pinball League commissioner and founder, David Whitlock. Thank you for joining us.
No problem. Glad to be here.
And yeah, I will throw it to Brennan, and we're talking Attack from Mars Pinball.
So, I mean, I don't know. This is like I said, if there's gonna be one week to where we only have 30 minutes as opposed to an hour, this is a pretty good one for it, just because this
This
game is
table's lame.
so. No, not that it's lame at all. It's just that it's so ubiquitous that it's we're not gonna be saying anything too fresh, I would imagine.
I was
Uh,
surprised when it got picked, to be honest with you.
yeah, it's just I don't know. It felt weird that we had never talked about it. It
hmm
deserves a little time, so we'll give it a little time.
It definitely
So
deserves time.
it deserves time. The only issue is coming up with anything that hasn't been said, just because at least for me, I mean, this is the top of my list. I mean, this is, I think, the best pinball machine ever made. A lot of people would argue Medieval Madness is
I mean, that's
also the best,
that's very very similar.
and it's really hard to argue with either choice,
hmm
along with a few other games. But for what it's worth, Pinside has Medieval Madness 1, Attack from Mars 2. Um,
Be right back. I
I,
gotta grab a controller. You can keep going.
no problem. Um, I think, I don't know, because the games are so similar. They're both Brian Eddy. The layouts are so similar, and the objectives are so similar. I think it mostly just comes down to aesthetics and preference that way. But that's why I give the edge to Attack from Mars, because I think the space alien invasion bit is a lot cooler than the medieval stuff. But that's just my preference. Which one do you like more, David?
I prefer Medieval Madness. The one difference, and I guess it gets into your strategy, is there's two main schools of thought. Either you go for the saucer and you have a bad bounce back and you die, or you just go for the locks and multi ball. I mean that's it. you
Pretty
you play
much.
one way or the other. But yeah, if you look at Medieval Madness, it's easier to make that castle shot from the left and not lose it like you can in attack.
Yeah, it's a little bit safer overall. It feels like, just for whatever reason, it could just be in my head. I feel like I typically do better on Medieval Madness, ironically enough. Yeah, it's definitely a little bit safer just because you have that kind of angle from the left flipper. Um, but aside from that, yeah, I mean the strategy on both games is pretty much the same. It's either are going for your multi-ball or you're going to just mash the thing in the middle of the machine over and over again. But I mean that's, I think, kind of the charm, and why it has so much replayability, and why it's still so popular. What was this, 96? So, 24 years later, or whatever that is, 34, 24, I guess. Um, so it's like that perfect formula, in my opinion, which is easy enough to just step up and play and not necessarily know what you're doing, but figure it out, but also deep enough to where you can kind of keep coming back even if you are familiar with pinball. So easy to learn, hard to master type of thing.
Yeah,
Um,
I've never gotten the wizard mode, and it's one that I've
I haven't either.
tried to. I've gone and I've played it at free play for. I'll sit there and play it for a couple hours just to try and get Mars or whatever that last city is.
It
Haven't
it
got.
requires a little cooperation from the machine, just just because it's so, there's just no way around it. Like, you're going to have to mash that. You're going to have to mash the saucer eventually, and what happens after that can only be controlled so much. Um, but that's kind of the fun in it for me, is that I wouldn't necessarily say it has a ton of flow, but it's also, I wouldn't call it a shooter.
No.
Um, there's no like loops or anything like that. But at the same time, I mean, it's a fast game, which speaks to me. Um, I guess the majority of my, um, I guess it's the majority. I'd have to think about that, but I think the majority of my time spent playing Attack from Mars is the one in Arlington that tends to be set up pretty hard. The post's pretty far back, and tilt's usually pretty tight. So, you got to take what it gives you, but it doesn't give you too much. So, I think that's why I like it though. Is that simple? Like I said, easy to pick up but hard to master, and it usually ends up kicking my butt, which is also a good sign in my opinion.
Yeah, and usually you cannot make backhand shots. Very
Usually you can't
rarely
what?
you'll get. You can't make a backhand, like you can't backhand the right loop from the right flipper. Um, Usually when I sit and I play a game, I try and figure out if you can do a real quick, easy backhand shot to make multi balls or ramps or things to make the game a little bit easier.
Yeah.
That you really can't.
Yeah,
Yeah, there's no like layup shot, I suppose.
I think the easiest shot is once the saucer's down, like hitting the center, but
Yeah.
it's so dangerous before then that it's terrifying.
Even then, it's not particularly safe once it goes down.
Yeah. Yeah, you could always get that odd bounce and just straight down the middle.
I
That's,
think
And then
that
of course,
was. Go for it, David.
every now and then you'll play a table where the scoop is messed up and you
Yeah.
just walk away. You don't even want to play.
you know,
Yeah, it takes away a little fun.
I've done that, and like a it's always a white knuckle ride, of course, but usually I can thump the table and make it save itself. But yeah, that's the craziest. Get a little more than that. There we go.
I just love how this has been. I've said this probably the past 3 weeks in a row, just because we've been talking about kind of a not quite as serious of the tables, like Funhouse, for instance, is just so goofy and silly and
Hmm.
lighthearted, and this was kind of the same way, along with Medieval Madness, like the the cheesy like B movie little plastic alien, especially when you get the Martian attack mode going and they're just wiggling around and the strobes and it's
Yeah,
so like makes fun of itself, which I love.
this is
The call
very
outs are
Mars
awesome.
Attacks.
Yeah, I mean it's so clearly just a mishmash of every Martian invasion B movie ever, which is perfect. Um, I think blowing up the saucer for the first time was probably like one of those like, okay, pinball's badass type of moments for me,
Yeah,
because
for
that
sure.
that is so cool. Especially the table's rumbling and the light show happens and it vibrates back and forth. Like that was one of the like, whoa. Apparently I want to make that happen again type of dopamine moments. So that never really gets old.
Is this the Did this come before the Mars Attacks movie or after?
This was 96, so I would imagine it's after. Uh, Mars Attacks came out in 96 as well, so I guess it's kind of a toss-up. It came out December 96, so I guess technically this came first.
It's so weird that those two properties came out in such quick succession. Like Mars Attacks the movie is based on the Topps, was it the Topps trading card set from the 60s. So there's like a very clear like this is what it is from Mars Attacks. This one is not officially based on that, although clearly heavily influenced by that, if not directly the movie.
Yeah, if not just a rip-off of it, but that's it. I wonder if they had anything to do with each other at all, or if that's just purely coincidence that they were released 6 months
It's so
apart.
similar, but I mean, also it's it's based on something that was famous from before, the Mars Attacks trading cards. Another one is the Destroy All Humans, which is a game, a PlayStation game
That's an
from
old PlayStation.
yeah, from
They're
like 2000,
re-releasing.
something like that.
I think They're re-releasing it soon, actually. Yes, I love that game, and maybe that also had something to do why this game piqued my interest is just the whole alien thing. Like I said, I mean, if I think for most people they have an opinion on one or the other, Medieval Madness, Attack from Mars, which one they like. I think it's mostly aesthetic. I can't name any specific difference between the two just because they have such similar rule set and layout, but I just think the alien theme is really cool. The beam, the big old beam never gets old. The goofy, sergeant.
Yes.
A lot of people I was reading on Pinside, which is what I tend to do before these, just to see what the general consensus among the pinball hardcore people is, and a lot of people are hating on the artwork and stuff, and
That's insane to me.
I don't get that at all. I think they kind of nailed it.
I
I
don't
love the slingshots, especially the backlash. I think is awesome. I think it's awesome.
like the only thing I can say is it's derivative of Mars Attacks. Like I don't.
Right.
And
But that's the idea.
right.
The only thing for me is when you get that strobe multi-ball.
It's a little, it's a little tough.
Yeah, strobe multi-ball is a little weird because it turns off everything else, right?
Yeah, makes it hard to follow. Not to mention when you get into, safety concerns. I can't think of too many machines that have like a legitimate strobe, like everything off strobe in your face effect. Quite like that. Yeah.
It's just horrible.
The thing that drives me nuts about strobe multi-ball, and it's like this on Star Wars, the lightsaber battle. Anytime like the mode turns off everything else that you can do on the table, that gets frustrating to me.
Yeah, I get that.
During strobe multi-ball, you can't work on the saucer. You can't do anything other than hit the saucer like shield for a decent score, but like it still feels like a bit of a waste to have the multi-ball and you can't blast everything.
Yeah, I get that actually. I mean, I've never really thought about it too much just because there's not that many of those types of modes. I don't get them that often, but
It doesn't feel punitive though. Like the one in Star Wars, the Jedi battle.
I hate
that feels punitive. You get lose all your balls basically, and you're trying to not activate the mode.
Yeah, I must be missing something because Star Wars especially, I feel like I'm not getting rewarded for the risk, I guess. Doesn't feel like it's worth that much, but I could be missing something because that game's a little bit deeper than it looks.
But
Get the troops ready.
I remember when I first played this, a long time ago. I think it was in some like burger joint near me. I was wondering if those plastic Martians were like an aftermarket thing, or if those are actually supposed to be there, just because they look so like you want them out of those little 25-cent turn the crank and you get a little bubble toy thing.
Yeah,
So
which is
it-
kind of
that's what it
another
looked like.
indication that like they really killed it on the art as opposed to
Yeah.
whatever
It's the
people might say
same
about
thing
it.
with what's it called? Scared Stiff and the little creatures that you'd put on your finger, the little
Yeah,
finger
the
puppet
spider
type thing.
rings.
Yeah, I was like, okay. Yeah, I thought for sure. I was like, okay, somebody just like super glued that thing there. Like that doesn't actually come with the game, but I don't know. I kind of appreciate it just because I mean it's I don't know. Like I said, I don't. This is a game. I'm not playing it for the graphics. You know what I mean? I think it's kind of hilarious that they just went that route.
I don't know. There's so many games that don't get it right or get it very boringly like generic. I feel like I have to bring up No Fear every week, but a game like that just doesn't do it for me at all. Whereas this one's got a very clear like idea of what it wants to do with its art and everything else. Like it works together. It's funny, looks nice, it sounds nice, and like you said, the exhilarating moment of blowing up the saucer is always there. Like it works.
Yeah, it just doesn't get old for me really. I don't know. Like I feel like for the most part, I feel kind of goofy in tournament play by just mashing the saucer, just because I feel like it's almost more like dignified or. Uh, like that's like the noob way to do is just mash the saucer, and the more dignified way is to do the multi-ball and stack that and all this other stuff. I can't help myself, especially because it's such easy points, and you know that's the it's a good and a bad thing, I guess, depending on who you are. I really enjoy that those points are always there, and you don't have to work too hard for them. But at the same time, it's not like you're not taking a risk by mashing it or anything. So it does
Well,
require some skill.
if someone wants to wizard mode it in tournament, they're still going to beat you.
Yeah. So I don't know. I don't feel too bad.
That's attack from Mars.
There you go.
So I don't know if you guys saw the details of what happened when they canceled Pinballers, but the thing that I read that was kind of a little interesting is that they moved people over to next year. So if you had a desire to go to Pinball next year, that's probably not going to happen.
Yeah, because it's sold out in
seconds.
5 minutes, 2 years in advance. Yeah, that's an odd one.
I don't, but how else would you do it? You know what I mean? Because the people who,
Right.
Refund. That's the only other way.
I mean, it's the only other way. But even then, because it's not quite as easy as just go online, buy your ticket. It requires some timing and finesse, and maybe even a little bit of luck, depending on your schedule. It would feel pretty cheap, I think, to just dish out refunds, even though I would also understand that. So as somebody who wasn't planning on going anyways, I don't hate the just transfer you to next year thing. That also brings up issues.
I don't know. There's a lot of stuff that's going to be like. There's no good solutions during all this. Like
There really isn't.
I think we're just going to have this period where we look back and just be like that was during the COVID-19 crisis. So things got a little squirrely that 18-month period.
Yep. Decisions had to be made.
Mm-hmm.
Working on a pretty nice ball one here.
I've also never got wizard mode on this one. I'm jealous of people who can. It's like the ultimate goal for me in any pinball table.
Yeah, I've been one shot away. Couldn't seal.
Couldn't what?
I couldn't seal the deal, even though I was one shot away. But it's like I almost wish I, didn't even get that close because it stung that much more.
Frustrating to be, yeah.
Yeah. It was right before a Pinball Monday too, and I ended up getting attack from Mars and absolutely blew it. That just seems to be how it goes for me. That's why I don't try to play too much before tournaments.
Well, did you perform poorly in the tournament, or?
Yes.
Oh, okay. Oh, you're just
Attack
out of it
from
at that
Mars,
point, yeah.
I blew it. What mode is this?
Total annihilation.
Oh, okay. I was like, it's just a regular. How do you get
I'm
total
looking outside
annihilation?
and I have my kids that are practicing riding their bike, so if I get them to leave right in the middle of this.
Understood.
I took her on so my oldest, and I know everyone loves hearing people talk about the kids, my oldest is just learning how to ride the bike. So I took her on a bike path, and the bike path started going downhill and then curved to the left. And I said, you need to slow down, you need to slow down. Boom! Slid right through that turn. Scraped up her knees, but she wears them like a badge of courage.
Oh my goodness. How things?
You gotta scrape a couple.
Yeah, how have things been for you in the last? Oh, it's been probably a little over a month since we talked to you, David.
Yeah, I mean, things are good. The teaching your kids and your kids having in the middle of the day while you're trying to work, that's an interesting challenge. Thankfully, my employers are accommodating and they understand that we have this stuff going on. But today, my third grader was on a WebEx, and I'm in the kitchen and getting lunch. And apparently, this is a little boy. He thought he was pushing on the tablet to mute himself, but he was already muted, and he turned on his mic and said, "Mom, I have to poop."
Wow, it's very like King of Kong there.
Yeah, so that was amusing, and watching first graders on a WebEx is just it's painful, right? Because they don't know how to mute themselves. Kids are singing, and I imagine that teacher got those calls and it was like, I need to go outside.
Yeah, straight to the bottle. I, I'm surprised they're having kids do like video. That seems like that's just going to be more trouble than it's worth.
It can be, but you know, for the first grader, she's actually that teacher's on there and she's teaching them stuff. Versus my third grader is like, all right, here, read this, watch this, do this. Here's your lesson. But my kids are in a bilingual program too, so you have this lady that's speaking in Spanish to them, and you're just sitting there watching. I have no idea what they're saying.
For me, that chaos just sounds like Free Play Arcade Jeopardy.
Yeah, I caught a little bit of that. That's organized chaos.
That's very kind of you to call that organized in any way.
I mean, as someone who's a big Jeopardy fan, I mean, I got the idea. It seemed like a pretty close approximate.
Yeah, Josh does a great job writing that. Ian and Lego do a great job producing. It's just, Internetica doesn't always cooperate. And it's so weird doing everything remote like this.
So how does that work as far as buzzing in and stuff like that?
There is a website that is just for kind of buzzing in like that. So it's just an online buzzer program.
Interesting. Yes. Some of those questions were above my pay grade.
Oh, yeah, for sure. There's strobe multi-ball. Now what do I do?
Close your eyes.
Yeah, doesn't matter.
Great shot.
Trying to think if there's anything else exciting to talk about.
So there's been talk of, let's see, Pinburg transferred Pinsburg? Ugh. Pinburg. Yeah, they transferred everything. TPF is going to try and give it a roll again next year. They canceled. Lewis canceled the what was going to be the Spring Series pinball on free play. Like that's not going to happen this year.
That's a bummer. I was looking forward to that.
Yeah, we don't even know when we can open again. So.
Yeah, it's kind of the last thing on the priority list, I would imagine. There's way too many moving parts.
Yeah, something along those lines. Yeah, I know he waited a while, so he wasn't looking to cancel it for sure.
Right.
But is the IFPA thinking about restarting at any point, or do you know?
I haven't seen anything.
I think I got an email from them today, actually. Let's see if I can find it. I didn't really look at it.
Like if free play is open and it's my job to get people to come to the arcade, and I'm allowed to do Pinball Mondays, then I will. And it's if the IFPA says do it, and if free play is open and the government says do it, then who am I to say no, I don't feel up to it? I'll definitely be doing it in that case, but I don't know when that is. Like I don't know when we actually go back to stuff.
And what type of restrictions will they set?
Right, I have no idea. I really don't know.
Yeah. Are you allowed 25% capacity and all video games have to be cleaned after every turn?
Yeah, I don't know. And some of the potential, like the word out there, There was a Button Mash, which is a arcade out in Los Angeles, had an interesting uh, statement. Let's see if I can find it real quick. At least it was one that spoke to me regarding opening up in this. Let's see. So I actually read about it here. I'll post a link to this article in the Twitch chat. Hold on. Here we go. It's an article on Vice. Popped up in my iPhone news feed. But
You know, it doesn't help that
here we go. Uh, while Folks, I guess. While Folks is confident in Button Mash's cleanliness and plans to employ any new safety standards, he isn't sure that drastically changing the format of the arcade is the ultimate solution. His quote, "I don't plan on removing machines from the arcade. It's an arcade. If arcades are the issue, then we will close. We will continue to clean our games and practice proper sanitation, but we'll try to steer clear of safety theater like removing every other game. If that was the case, we would be taping off the the player 2 side of Street Fighter or Mortal Kombat, removing one of the guns from Time Crisis 2 or one of the steering wheels from Daytona USA. I don't believe this is the answer." And that's sort of like, that gets to the heart of like the issue for me is like, okay, if you want to say like we're gonna take away every other arcade game, sure, Joust is still side by side. Like the games are that just is what they are. Pinball is still, if we're gonna do Pinball Monday, it's still gonna be 4-player pinball. I don't like that's more realistic to separate people than anything, but like even then it's not realistic. So man, I'm ready for this to end.
I think it doesn't help that arcades have, for one reason or another, traditionally had this reputation of being, dens of you know truants and people up to no good
That's so weird
for
to me.
whatever reason.
I never really understood that.
I'm way too young to understand the history behind it, whatever that might even entail. I imagine it's a bunch of nonsense, so I don't get it. But I think that there's probably still a cluster of the population, some of which may be in positions of governmental power, who still may have thoughts like that,
That's
which
fair.
probably isn't helping, anybody to speed along the process for arcades to reopen.
Well, in my youth, granted, I grew up in the '70s and '80s, so before Brennan was even born. Um, but the arcade that I went to as a kid, the first time I remember going in there, I was just amazed. Like, holy cow, this place is amazing. It was open for probably about 5 or 6 years until the owner died of a cocaine overdose. So,
Probably didn't help
yeah,
the reputation.
that's the type of stuff that happened in arcades in the '70s and '80s.
That's
Lots of drugs, lots of selling of drugs.
what. That's so weird.
Yeah,
I
can't believe
I
it.
can't imagine. I stayed in arcades in the '80s too. I guess I wasn't exposed to it. I suppose there were young people being young people. I don't know. Young men like to do things their parents don't want them to do. General Yegov, yeah, he's got it right there.
I think we just need to temporarily switch free play to a salon and just open that sucker up.
I do need a haircut. So does David, if you see.
I do see that, yeah.
So
I say you just take
my
the clippers to that
dad,
bed.
my dad is 82 years, and he's starting to show his age. And he said, I could trim that hair of yours if you want. And I'm like, okay. So he's going around the back, and then he says, "Oops, took a lip off the back." So, but I don't care. It's
You
not
wearing
like
a you wearing a hat permanently? Is that what we're hearing?
No, it wasn't. It was off by like an eighth of an inch off the rest of the back of the hair.
Yeah, whatever. It'll grow back.
So I'll let it grow out, and then I'll go see that crazy right wing chick in Dallas.
Well, they're allowed to be open now, correct?
I say that
Yep.
being a right
Yeah.
winger. So yeah, she's a crazy right wing.
Well, they're allowed to be open, so I made an appointment. I'm getting my hair cut tomorrow. I don't know. I feel like this is going to be 18 months of this, so I'm going to be exposed at some point, and I need to know my level of exposure, and it's I need my haircut, and it's open, and it's legal, and I am supporting a small business, and I'm going to be asking other people to support small businesses as I am now. freeplayinc.com/save the arcade, because we want, when everything is done, when everything is settled, we want it to be back to playing games and holding tournaments and holding pinball leagues, and that's very important to me. Important enough that I'm willing to assess risks and decide when and where I want to actually like go out and get my haircut or play games with people, or I do plan to wear my mask liberally and take all the precautions put down by the CDC and my employers and everything else, but also I get to live in this dystopian present, so here we go.
Yep. Gotta jump in at some point.
Yeah, I don't ever plan to be reckless, although that's subjective as well. What is reckless? Because some people certainly want to like put it in mothballs. I think about General out there in chat, because I know he's self-quarantined, and it was a difficult decision for him in his job, right? Like, I feel responsible to you, General Yegov, out there. Like, I don't want to be reckless for people like you who feel like you. I'm just going to do my absolute best to stay safe and carry the line. Just we gotta live for 18 months. It's tough, because I think there will be setbacks, and
Yeah.
Sure.
this is all beyond us.
I just really the biggest thing, it's because things are slowly starting to open a little bit here and there with restrictions, and then eventually there'll be less restrictions. Like I got an email from my hockey rink that I play at did play at every week, saying we're reopening next week, and then by like middle of June we're gonna start having like games again, stuff like that. And I'm like, even that I wonder about. I don't know how comfortable I feel with that. Me on the ice with 10 other people, sweating, breathing heavily, and I don't know. Like, who's to say that that's safe? Who's making that call? I don't know.
I just don't think it's my call. Like, at this point, like, the government is taking it out of my hands, which is the way it's not my call, right? Like, this is above me. Like, I do feel like this is a decision that should be made by the leadership of where I live, right?
Yeah.
So, if they told me I have to go forward, then I think that's bigger than me too, right? So when they tell me I have to go, or I need to go back to work, I'll be going back to work. And if that means I get ill, I do expect to get ill at some point, because it's a pandemic and that's the way these things go. I don't want to be reckless. I'm not planning on being reckless, but also I got to do what I got to do. So this is just a weird, terrible period. I'm, again, ready for it to be over. David, have you been playing any pinball?
Just my own. So I've got Metallica, I have Aerosmith, and Wizard of Oz.
Oh man, have you?
Trying to get the win, but
How is that Wizard of Oz? Is it playing well?
I need to re-update the software. I just had a weird issue where I'll be playing it and all of a sudden it'll just shut down. But I've had that happen before. If you reboot the software, do an update, it'll be.
Well, I definitely want you to turn on the pinballs at some point this week and play a game for me, because I don't know. I want to know the pinballs getting played out there somewhere.
Definitely. I am turning on and I'm playing. I work from home, so I spend at least 4 or 5 hours during the workday playing pinball.
I mean,
Hard at work.
Yeah, I play games at work too, although my work is really weird. Really, really weird, of 10 hours a day with no breaks playing games. So, awesome. It's weird, though.
Yeah, I don't know how you do it, but
Momentum. I feel like if I stop, it would be very, very hard for me to start again.
Coffee.
Coffee, that's true. It's never far away, and it's also I have lots of it. This is my I don't know how many pints today. It definitely means I slur my words like that.
Your
Yeah.
heart's got to be like a.
Let's not talk about heart health today.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, just doing my best. But thank you guys for joining us.
For sure.
What table do we want to do next week? Let's assume that we have everybody back at full speed. David,
Yeah.
do you like doing these? Do you want to be in next week?
I could be in.
I mean, more the merrier in this case. Like hearing David's voice. Also, I like posting that fro.
Yeah. He's
So
mean mugging
a
too.
funny story behind the fro and that outfit. So I started wearing that when I lived up in the Northeast, and I would go play poker at Foxwoods
Mm-hmm.
because everybody was wearing sunglasses and the old people were wearing wigs. So I'm going to wear sunglasses and a wig.
Mm-hmm.
Guy says to me while I'm playing, he goes, "Is that hair real?" Without dropping a beat, perfectly in character, I say, "You think I could buy something this pretty?"
Did he buy it?
Yeah, I mean, it's a real good looking afro wig. I mean, it's a light brown, so it's more of a welcome back Cotter style wig than a dark black and curly. So
And that was your only successful bluff that whole night.
We haven't talked about Iron Man, have we?
Iron Man? No, we've
I don't
been
know how
we've been
familiar
keeping
anybody
it
else
to
is.
tables lately that that we are capable of streaming in either video game form or literal form. Let's
That's
see here,
right.
because I've been.
Yeah. What do you
What do I got? Let me look.
refresh my memory?
I don't know. There might be an audible if Austin can stream. Hey, I got a Hall of Mirrors. That's what I have. More shenanigans.
Whoa.
Did my PS4 explode? Back to action.
whatever pinball game you want to talk
P-ballers.
about.
What is this?
Pinballers.
Yeah, Free Play Arcade Jeopardy was with 4 people doing this, when it's just me producing. The wheels were never on. Alright, here we go. What tables do we have here? Just want hold on before we do that. I want to go back to Attack from Mars one more time. Let's go to table menu, leaderboards. This is on the Pinball Arcade. You can't really obtain this Attack from Mars table on here. It plays fine. It's super easy. It's not the real thing. It's happy with this game, but at the same time, I wanna point right at the number 1 over Mike B.
Wow. Not even close.
Yeah,
That's a healthy lead.
yeah. I mean, that puny Mike B score I beat just today on the show. If you saw earlier, and then quit again. So Mike,
Must be it all.
you get to work. We're bored over here. Shannon's working on it. Shannon's gonna pass you soon too. So there we go. All right, we got Black Hole, Black Knight, Gorgar, and Scared Stiff. I think, have we done Theater of Magic already?
I don't think
think we did.
so. It's possible we have, but
Hmm.
I would be cool with what was that we just went to? Right, already left. Oh, Scared Stiff. I'd be cool with that.
Yeah, I'd be happy to talk Elvira.
Yeah.
I mean, Scared Stiff, an Elvira game.
Especially because they just came out with a new Elvira. You know, what, 6 months ago or something like that. So could tie it in there. Plus, Scared Stiff. It's on dormant on a free play floor somewhere.
Yes, it is. All right. Well, we'll see you guys next Monday at 7 p.m. and we'll talk with the Pinballers about Scared Stiff Pinball.
Works for me.
Thank you guys so much for joining us. Is Amber ready? Can she draw for us?
Let me ask her. Amber, are you ready? Can you draw for them? No, she said she's gotta do some work stuff.
Still? Okay.
Yeah.
Adios.
Later.
Thanks, David. Thank you, Brennan.
No problem.
Although, if you want to stick around and play anything, we might be back to Peggle. My potential doodlers for tonight are relatively low. See, I believe I have Cloud, Adam, maybe.
I'm here.
Adam's here. And Ian, are you here?
You could you could shoot a text to Matt, see if he wants to do some do.
Sounds good. Would you send that text?
I would be happy to.
Carissa, are you here? Yeah, Ian's out. Yeah. Ian definitely went along with Jeopardy. Yeah, so the list of outs are way more than in at this point.
How was Jeopardy?
It was good. It just started way late because the internet blew up.